Welcome to Two Hypnotherapists Talking with me, Denise Billen-Mejia, in Delaware, USA.
And me, Martin Furber, in Preston, UK.
This weekly podcast is for anyone and everyone who'd like to know more about the fascinating subject of hypnosis and the benefits it offers.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
I'm a retired medical doctor turned consulting hypnotist.
We are Two Hypnotherapists Talking.
So let's get on with the episode.
Yes, let's get on with the show.
Let's get on with the show indeed. What are we talking about this week, Denise?
I think we need to dial it back a bit and get back a bit more hypnosis, because we're really enjoying our calls with people who are not hypnotists but are hypno adjacent. But let's dial it back a bit. How do you talk to somebody who just calls up and says, I want to know whether this hypnosis will work for me?
Right.
So
okay.
I had one of those calls yesterday. It started out as one thing and ended up as being something else, which was lovely. But why don't you tell me what your basics?
First thing I ask anybody is just for them to tell me in their own words what they would like help with. Mm-hmm. That's okay, because it could be anything, as you know yourself. It could just be something that they've got an event coming up and they're a bit anxious and they'd like some help with that, or it could be that they've been suffering with chronic back pain for years and their doctor suggested they try hypnotherapy, or anything in between, really. So I find out what it is they want from therapy, and then I give a very brief explanation over the phone of how it works. The main point being to let them know that it's not a magic wand. We can't just snap our fingers and fit anything. And then I arrange an initial consultation with them, either on Zoom or face to face. But it's during that initial consultation, a major part of it for me is an explanation of how the brain works, about the intellectual side of the brain and the primitive side, because most things people come to see me about are either something that's exacerbated by stress or something that is caused by some kind of fear or anxiety. So I always find that explanation of how the brain works, how our minds work, resonates. It's relatable to most people. So I give an explanation of that. And then, of course, they want to know about the actual hypnotherapy, the hypnosis side of it. So how do you explain that side of it to people?
Probably very similar. Usually I have a little bit of information when they book in for the initial consult. I ask them why. Sometimes it'll be, I want to talk about hypnosis. Not terribly helpful. Most people will say, I've got a big talk coming up. I'm fear of public speaking or anxiety. Yesterday I had been to a class exactly, but I was in a group of doctors who I didn't know personally. I knew them sort of within the greater group, but I hadn't had individual contact with them. And one of them booked a call, and so, which was very nice, and we chatted for a while, and she just wanted to know more about, she didn't know very much about hypnosis. And so we were talking about hypnosis, and it suddenly morphed into, oh, I think I want this for me. Because we were talking about pain, and she actually had a headache. So we were talking about that and how it works with that. So it is different every time I speak to somebody, but yes, you do have to talk about, one, it's not a magic bullet.
Yeah, that's the main point to get across.
Silver bullet magic pill. It's not that. It's not what you see on TV where somebody goes, oh, and then they're flat out on the couch. It just, you wouldn't want it to work like that anyway. But of course, once you've been hypnotized several times, somebody could say to you, as they do to you and I when they want to practice, would you like to be hypnotized? Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, straight
and
out.
You're gone. but that takes trust in the person you're talking to, but also just trust in the process. So as long as they need whatever questions they have about it, we spend the time talking about whatever their questions are. With me making sure that they know it isn't instant. It can be remarkably fast. It's certainly faster than many other ways of dealing with these issues, but it isn't me doing something to them. No, it's them using something that they naturally have with me guiding them through that process.
The ability to get into it. I always like to say it's the ability to enter into a daydream It's that kind of thing. I always like to give simple analogies, things people can relate to, because again,
that's usually what it feels like. It feels
does,
like you were, miles away.
In the way of, if you've ever sat there with your elbow and your chin on your elbow and you start to just, daydream sort of thing, then it's a bit like, it's that point. That's how I'd like to describe it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But that's it. You or I would see somebody who wanted to be hypnotized, who had gotten to that point and be able to take them past it instead of having them start awake.
Yeah.
As you do. But I mean, one or two things will happen when you go into that state. You either wake up because a bell rings or somebody speaks to you, or your stop comes if you're on the bus, or
the teacher throws a body razor at you.
there you go. Yeah, exactly. It's just learning to relax in not necessarily good circumstances.
Yeah, that's how I liken it. But again, with the initial consultation, because a lot of people a lot of the questions I get are the same kind of thing. What's it like? And you've got to manage expectations, because if they are expecting you to click your fingers and they just go like that, that expectation needs to be managed. And I think sometimes when you do give that explanation to people, they then think, well, how can it work then? If that isn't how it works. So then a further explanation. I mean, one analogy I give, is when people say, about how it works if you speak to the subconscious and this, that, and the other. I say to them, have you ever watched a really good film, either on the television or at the cinema? I've really, really enjoyed it. It's resonated with you. And then the following week, as you're walking around, little bits of the film keep coming back to your mind, bits that you enjoyed and make you feel good again. And I say hypnotherapy is similar to that. What I say to you while you're in the trance state will keep repeating itself. The positive suggestions will keep repeating to you over the following week.
And of course, the same thing, negative suggestions that not be given to you by a hypnotist, good gracious, but that have gotten in there either when you were a kid, or because of constant repetition, or because you weren't paying attention consciously when, hypnosis is a natural phenomenon. You are affected by that. There are ways for less than positive things to get into your brain. Like,
absolutely.
I'm too fat, I'm too short, I'm too thin. These are the standard ones that women can play. I'm not good enough.
You're not as good as your sister.
Imposter syndrome. There's all these things that just get in there, and you and I work with the person to find out what they would rather be hearing.
Exactly. And we replace. I mean, that's it. Again, I use a lot of computer analogy, so I just say we overwrite a faulty template with a more helpful one, or an unhelpful template with a more helpful one. But
what did hypnotists do before the computer came along? It's so easy. It's so nice to be able to talk about all the tabs are open and you need to close them down.
Yeah.
What did they say before this?
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I can't remember whom, and they were talking about somebody else who had 500 tabs open on the phone.
Must have been really hot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Not enough screen space.
I get overexcited when I got 4 open. But no, so I like to give that analogy to explain more, because it's people ask, well, you go through the process of hypnotherapy, what happens then? And I say, well, the positivity starts to repeat back to you. And the analogy I give of when the negativity repeats back, when people are troubled by that, I say again, when we hear bad things, especially when we're children, we get bullied, we get called names and that kind of thing, or negative statements like you're not as good as your brother or your sister, or that kind of thing. When we're adults in times of stress, and again, I use that stress bucket analogy, when our stress bucket's full, a lot of the things we heard that were negative about us when we were younger will come back and start repeating.
And some people's never go away. They hear it their whole life. Unless they meet a hypnotherapist.
I was just going to say, them. Well, we yeah.
All right, good. I mean, other kinds of therapy too. There are lots of ways they can be helped, but hypnotherapy is amazing for those kinds of things. And what the other thing that came up when I was talking to this physician yesterday was the fact that and I'm sure you, teach my clients how to do it for themselves. right? Because I give them an audio that's specific to the issue we've talked about, and they can listen to that whenever they want, or they can make their own and hear their own voice telling them whatever they need. Once they trust the process, they know how to, and just getting enough sleep, just allowing that, turning off the negative thoughts that go all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that negative sleep thing, again, this is something else I explain to people in the initial consultation, because I always ask everybody about their sleeping habits. And I explain to them how we detach the emotion from memories when we get in the REM sleep. And I also don't make a direct comparison, but I do liken REM sleep to the hypnotic trance state. I don't know how you feel about that. Do you feel that's a good liking? I know it's not the same thing, but
I talk about daydreaming. That's the usual way. I don't think daydreaming and REM sleep are really the same, but yeah, I think although there's been a lot of research and we know a lot more about hypnosis than we used to, it's still pretty magical.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't want people to think it's literally magic, but an unexplained scientific thing appears to be magic.
Yeah, well, I would gently challenge the unexplained, but it's getting more and more explained all the time these days, isn't it?
Right, but with everything in science, you think one way and then something else comes along and say, oh no, we're wrong about that. It works like this. And that's fine. It doesn't make the thing that's being looked at invalid. It just means we haven't yet finished understanding it.
Yeah, it's something else I was thinking of as well. I'm veering slightly off here, but well, only slightly. Okay,
Martin, it's you and I talking. When don't we veer off?
No, but I'm just thinking again about explaining during an initial consultation to people about how, like other therapies, hypnotherapy won't work with everybody. Okay. There are some people it doesn't work with, but it got me thinking about could that possibly be down with some people to learning styles? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not it doesn't work with everybody. It doesn't work with everybody all the time for every single issue. There is no magic bullet. It's magic bullet, silver bullet, magic word. But
you're mixing your metaphors
constantly. It is just, and there's essentially no side effects. There tends to be, if you wake too quickly out of a trance, a lot of people will complain of a vaguely funny feeling, or feel foggy, as you would if you were really deep asleep and your alarm clock goes off. A lot of us get very discombobulated when that happens.
Yeah, like me the other afternoon when I said I've had a sleep.
Yeah, but it is a completely natural thing that you do all the time. As you're falling asleep, as you're waking up, you go through exactly what, and we aren't making that happen to you. We're just helping you facilitate it for yourself. We're giving you a nice quiet place. We're giving you a boring listen to our voice. And you can just naturally go into that state and then use it for something useful that you've actually asked to be introduced to you. Well, otherwise, you're falling asleep on the couch and you're listening to the news and you don't know why you wake up in a bad mood. Everything that your brain hears is going to go somewhere.
It's going to get absorbed, isn't it? It goes in there some way. Getting back to initial consultation, something else I talk to people about, because again, I know our clientele varies, but there are some similarities in the symptomology. I help a lot of people who are experiencing depression, and as you know, I get in-house referrals as well from people who may well have been prescribed SSRIs, which, for general viewers, the antidepressants, one type of antidepressants, and I explain to them how they work, as in you have to generate your own feel-good, happy serotonin yourself, and the tablets will stop you reabsorbing it so quickly. And I find a lot of people have never had that explained to them when it's been prescribed to them, probably down to time restrictions over here, the length of appointments.
Mostly.
But I do find with people, once you explain that to them, how their medication works and how hypnotherapy can help alongside it,
right?
And help.
And again, we point out that we don't see anybody without their doctor knowing.
Absolutely. Yeah. But as I say, I'm talking about clients who have been referred by the prescribers, who've recommended hypnotherapy in preference to other therapies or instead of. And it works really well. I mean, years ago, if you go back 20 years, Denise, I look back through my National Council of Hypnotherapy stuff, hypnotherapy was a big no-no for depression.
Yeah.
And you talk about science moving on, whereas now it's widely accepted. Yes, it's helpful, it's useful, and for helping people with depression. So that's another thing I explain to people during an initial consultation, because I do get a lot of people who are on prescribed medication.
The first session is usually longer than subsequent sessions, because you've got to go over again how your brain works, what we're going to be doing, refine, even though they may have explained in great detail the first time what they wanted to talk about. They may walk in on the first session and actually prefer to talk about something else.
Yeah, that's happened. But also, again, it's in terms of getting stuff, offloading certain things. Okay, when people come with various situations, they could have had a troubled past. They say they've got depression, for example, they're experiencing depression. They may want to talk about it. And with a lot of people, they still regard all kinds of therapies as being sort of like, looking backwards. And they might say, and I feel like this, and I think it's because this happened, and I think it's because of that, and what do you think? I let them get it off the chest in the first session, let them offload. Okay. Because straight away it's building rapport. They feel, if they feel they can trust you and tell you all these things, that's got to be a good thing. But we don't want to concentrate on those things in the future. So I explain everything to them, like, okay, you've explained all this to me. I understand. Thank you for telling me, but we're not going to concentrate on that in the future. In the future, we're going to concentrate on where you want to be, not where you've been. That sometimes needs explaining in quite some detail as to why, because you've got to be very careful I've got to be very careful not to make people think that I'm being dismissive. If I say, well, thank you for telling me that, but we're not going to examine that any further now. Because again, you remember, it's an initial consultation. First impressions are everything, aren't they? And, people could feel that the thing that, their issue is not being validated.
One of the things that I don't usually have too much trouble explaining that to people, you don't have to sit here in a session and go over every single horrible thing that you want to get rid of. Hypnosis doesn't require you to relive the issue.
No, that's right.
But the most common thing I am asked for that I have to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, is people who want to remove the memory of an ex. That's not the way. Don't get rid of a memory. You make it totally unimportant.
Yeah, exactly. We can change the way we feel about it.
Practically can't remember this guy's name, because I always give the explanation to my clients that, if they've got 3 kids with this guy, you don't want to forget who is this guy that keeps coming on Saturdays and taking them away. It just it isn't a practice. Even if I physically could do that, it would not be helpful. And hypnosis is to help people.
Exactly, and that's it, isn't it? It's getting that point across. Because I've been asked something similar before. Now, can I do that? And it's like, no, we can't erase the memories. We can detach the emotion from bad memories.
Exactly.
And we can help you fade that memory out so that you react to it very differently. Because it's not the memory that's causing the issue; it's how you react to it. It's how it makes you feel, or
that's the whole problem with stress. We call it stress if it's negative, but actually anything that's changing what's going on around you is stressful to your mind. It doesn't like that.
What was it somebody said to me once? Pressure is when there's a lot of things to do and it's all going right. Stress is when it's all going wrong.
There you go. Excellent. Would you say pressure to me? I immediately think of a pressure cooker.
I just and science moves on. These days we use air fryers.
So true. So, my dear, what do you do in that first session? If they listen to this and they understand that this is where they want to go, what do you what is your first session generally?
Okay, the first session after the initial consultation.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So after the initial consultation, they will have been given a bedtime recording to listen to every night for a week. Okay.
Which is specific to the issue or just a general relaxation?
It's a general relaxation one. It's to get them used to
them used to it. Yeah.
To get them used to the sound of my voice, to get them used to taking some nice breaths and relaxing at bedtime, and to hopefully help them sleep better as well. And to, as I say, get them used to my voice, get them used to the whole idea of the process, and to hopefully help their sleeping patterns and habits so they're already in a better place when they come to see me the following week. And I've also asked them to write down the 3 good things from the previous day each night and bring those into me as well. And I explain in greater detail what that's about and how that works and why it works. And then when they come to see me for that first session, now this is interesting. We go through these things that have been good. The reason being to get them in that left prefrontal cortex, to get them relaxed, to get them thinking, and to switch down the other side. And then I generally run over the main points of the initial consultation again, because most people are, there's a lot of information for them to take in, and you do need to repeat certain bits of it. And then I do scaling, and on the first full session only, not on any other session, I ask them where they are on, if they're coming to see me about confidence, for example, where they are on a confidence scale, 1 to 10 at that moment. And then I ask them the least confident they've ever felt, what score would they give that out of 10? And then I move very quickly on to the best they've ever felt. When was that? And I get them to describe that in more detail and give that a figure. I don't ask them to describe the lowest one in detail. Okay, we don't concentrate on that.
Again, we don't want to reinforce negative memories.
But exactly. So we just want the number though. And then, so say, for example, they say the worst they ever felt was a 2. At the moment, they're feeling a 5, but they can remember in the past when they felt an 8 out of 10. So I'll ask them to tell me about that. How was it? And I'll get them to really delve into that and tell me in detail how it was, who was there, what was different then, what was better then, and get them primed into that mindset, because that's the way they want to be again. So, I do all that. And then we chat about other things. I do, based on solution focused brief therapy, the miracle question. And then we go into the trance.
Yeah. And most of that cognitive portion is also you learning their speech patterns, because you want to repeat the ideas that have said, I want to be more confident. Well, you're not going to sit there and hypnotize them and say, you are more confident, you are more confident, you are more confident. This is not helpful.
No, so but I would ask them, what does confidence look like? Can they describe it to me? And again, especially where I live in the north of England, people speak in a certain way and use certain phraseology, which would be very different from, say, 60 miles away. And, obviously, I'm well in tune with that. Oh, there you go. There's one example. I'm well in tune with that. I'm in tune with that really well, and can phrase my language accordingly. On Zoom, when I'm dealing with somebody in another country or at the other end of the country, then again, pay more particular attention to the patterns they use.
Right. If you were hypnotizing me, you'd have to also, you had to figure Salisbury bit and the American part. I've never said that in my life. But okay. And also, I'm in the northeast of America. That's not a y'all.
I know, that's Texas drawl, isn't it?
So, okay. So that's that first one is going to take you longer because you won't really know the client. Do you require people? I, being honest here, I ask people to book for 2 sessions, because I want to know that, I want them to know, again, reinforcing is it's not magic. If, and it has happened before, I see somebody and that first session, we fix the problem, they can keep that second session in their back pocket if they need it again. But it doesn't usually, but it doesn't really wear off. But, if it's not been a problem, say you are worried about a particularly posh event you have to go to, and you're feeling, like a wallflower, you want to go away. So you get rid of that. You may not have another one of those kinds of events for a long time. So you won't be able to test whether you still feel that way.
Yeah, or if you were
So
best man at a wedding or something.
Exactly, that kind of thing. So if, I'm assuming I'm alive, 10 years down the road, they have this, they can, that's not negative thinking, it's realism. I cannot come back and do this from the grave. So they want to see me again 10 years from now. They've got that session in their pocket. If they, and subsequent sessions are slightly less expensive because I already know them. Yeah. And I know how they're going to sound. They will be slightly shorter. I always, a day or two after the session, embarrassed why I'm saying this, I try really hard for it to only be a day or two after the session. They get an audio that's made specifically for that, for what their issue is. Yeah, and most of my clients will use that as a self-hypnosis tape. You know, every so often, they'll listen to it just to make sure they keep topped up.
Brings up the whole subject again, what we were talking about of self-hypnosis. Different, if you ask different hypnotists even what is self-hypnosis, you'll get different answers.
You'll get all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Yeah, that's one that you get, yeah. But also in terms of, you know, literally getting somebody to be able to take themselves into a state of hypnosis, you will get different answers from different therapists as to what that is or what it entails. I mean, I can do it pretty easily. Get myself.
You can hypnotize yourself, or you can tell other people how.
I can hypnotize myself very, very easily.
But again, we've had lots of practice because we had to learn this.
True. Have I ever trained anybody to literally take themselves into trance without any other aids? No, I'd be lying if I said I had.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, really, it's just like, you're going to do this exact thing. You're going to take some deep breaths, and and just won't be me talking at you while you're doing it. And that's often when we're talking about sleep in particular, because you want to, you're going to be in a different hotel room. It's hard to get to sleep. There's all sorts of things that go on in your life.
I've done it with my own recordings for them, which is a form of self-hypnosis. And I've said, if you don't want to do this as a go to bed at night time sort of thing, I'm thinking of one client in particular now, sit there in the chair, put the recording on, but before you hit play, do some 7-7-7 breathing for a minute or two, then hit the play and then start.
Okay. My recording always says, if you are not going to bed right now, set an alarm for 30 minutes after this tape, because you will go to sleep. That's the natural thing to do.
Yeah. No, my count ups are a lot more forceful than yours, though.
I don't like, if people need it, I will count them up. And one of the great things about working online is I don't have to, because they're already in their own home. They don't go deal with traffic and get all discombobulated. But it's the second time I've used that word this time. It is, I find it very annoying. I stopped using that count up because when I was being used as a practice dummy, I go out completely now. Would you like to be hypnotized? Yes, please. Thank you very much. I'm gone. And then the next thing I hear is 3. What happened to 1 and 2? I don't know. But I hear 3 and I hear my voice saying, no, and I think it's my little girl voice that's talking to me. I can't quite get the tone, but I don't want my clients to feel like that. I want them to be completely relaxed and come into the room when they want to. And because I'm working online and because I put big buffers around my appointment times, I can just sit there until I see their eyes open, and I say, bye, see you next time, click. So I don't want them to use that front part of their brain yet. I want them just to chill.
Just to stay in the zone, as it were.
Yeah.
Interestingly, do you have to make sure you brought your client out of trance before you terminate the call for your insurance?
My insurance has never told me that I need to do this. I unless a client has told me some of them will use it for their nap time in the afternoon. I have quite a lot of older clients. So if I can see they're lying on the bed and they've drifted off to sleep, I just turn off my end and they deal with the computer when they wake up. But no, you certainly would need to know that somebody was truly awake if they were going to go down an elevator, find their car and drive home. You want to be very sure they are, because at the next traffic light, they may just decide to go back
to sleep.
Again, though, do remember, everybody listening, that your conscious mind is not I mean, you're not unconscious. It's in that middle road. So if something dramatic happens, it will wake up.
Oh yeah, it's the same if you're, and you could be completely engrossed in something on television, which is not dissimilar from hypnosis. Really engrossed in it, and then somebody will ring the doorbell, and yes, you'll jump out of your skin, but you come out of it instantly, don't you?
Yeah, but it's not a pleasant it's not a pleasant feeling.
Not.
So I don't want to do that to my clients. I want them to have as nice a period as possible.
Yeah,
but
well,
I do warn them. I do warn them every time that it is. Get all your talking done now. All your I can't see you next Tuesday because out of the way before, because I don't want any of that getting in the way of this integrating. When you finish a session, just sit there in your chair for 20 minutes. Go deal with the kids later, unless you hear screaming and a lot of worrisome noise. And I think most people do better with that, because it is annoying to be woken up suddenly. Well, if you're having a nice dream, why would you need to do that?
Well, yeah, I mean that's like waking up on a Monday morning when you're in the middle of a really good dream, and something wakes you up, or you have to wake up, and it's like, no, I was really enjoying that, you know.
But what's worse is you wake up and you think, is it Sunday? I don't know what day it is. Working from home can make that even more pronounced as well.
Yeah. Also, I think we talked about sensory input before, weren't we? I think, so do you ever get it when clients come to you saying, I want to lose weight, I want to feel this, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's like, well, whoa, hold on, let's do one thing at a time.
Not only, I want to learn how to ride a horse and I want to lose weight, which are obviously different things, but even
well, yeah, you might need to lose one to be able to learn to do the other, though.
Correct, but you also wouldn't say everything about weight loss to a client that first session, because unless it's 2 pounds, in which case why are they sitting in your room or on Zoom? You want to make tiny but really impactful changes with
small steps all the way. Yeah,
right. If you were in trance right now and I said, and you are going to be confident and you're going to learn to ski and you're going to drive to London tomorrow and blah, 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 and 15 things, your subconscious mind exists to keep you safe. This does not sound like a safe environment. It's not going to
if you're bombarding it with different things now.
Yeah.
No, I think that's quite important to point out to people as well, that yes, whilst it can help with many things, not all at once.
Yeah. It's also a reason that we can't specify how long somebody's going to need to work with you, or you when they don't want to come to you anymore, they don't come to you anymore.
No, well, that's it.
But generally speaking, with anxiety, it's 3 to 5. So it differs for the person, but when you make that change, it helps the other changes go faster, and Absolutely. So things really speed up as you go along.
Yeah, I mean, I have had it though with people with depression, and they'd come to see me for depression, and they'd mentioned they wanted to lose weight. As they've been feeling better, they've lost the weight anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not what we've been concentrating on, because then you're in that cycle of, am I fat because I'm unhappy, or am I unhappy because I'm fat?
Yes,
and
exactly.
Then, again, so that feeds off each other, doesn't it?
So when you see a hypnotist, you tell them all the things that you want to, and then you choose the one that is the most important to you right now. And within that, there may be several little steps that you need to make, but I never do more than 2 or 3. There are variations on a theme suggestions, but I don't ever make more than really 2 changes in a session, because it's too just, here we go again, it's discombobulating. I don't know why I need a thesaurus today. It's unsettling, and that is your subconscious is your safe zone. It's your comfort zone. It's there to keep you comfortable, and if anything is going to be disquieting to your subconscious, it will not cooperate.
No, it won't.
So, which is why people stay. It's why people can't imagine getting themselves out of dangerous or unpleasant relationships.
No, because they take comfort from the repetition of that bad relationship.
Well, and not only that, but change is dangerous. You don't know what's going to happen when things change.
No, we automatically perceive change as a threat, even good change, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. which is why you can be stressed by really fun things like flying to Australia or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, my dear, I think we need to end this today.
Yeah.
And we'll blather on about something else the next time. But the next episode, we're talking to a mystery person. I don't remember who it is, but there will be another person. It will be 2 hypnotherapists and somebody else.
All right, catch you on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please remember, this podcast is designed to give you an insight into therapeutic hypnosis and is for educational purposes only. So remember, consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you've heard may apply to you or a loved one.
If you found this episode useful, you can apply for free continuing professional development or CME credits using the link provided in the show notes. Feel free to contact either of us through the links in the show notes. Join us again next week.